Thank you. Yeah, actually, I heard so many inspirational and so many interesting stuff so far, and now it's on me to tell you what all the stuff, all the digitalization is doing to us as a company. And this is what I'm talking about. And we call it Kulturwandel 4.0, which is rather a strange term, but I'm going to tell you why it is the term we choose. But first of all, let me start with a very simple picture. For us in the Otto Group, the future has been always something like a dark room, and it still is something like a dark room, because to be honest, we actually don't know what is happening and what are the emerging things, what is the next big thing which is emerging in this room. And all of us are sitting in front of this room. Some of them are more cautious, some of them are more curious, but in the end, we don't know. And what we did is actually what mainly all the big companies do. They hire people with flashlights. And this is something what by heart, I'm a strategic guy, so I'm one of the guys with his flashlight and trying to figure out what is the emerging future in this room. And so we tried to ask these flashlight guys, what should we do to really be prepared for this new world? And they come up with these 4 pillars. The first was like, let's try to transform the core. What are our main core assets? And let's think about how we can transform these assets that they are prepared for this new future. For example, Otto, you might have heard of Otto. It's a 70-year-old, mainly catalog, or was a catalog-based company, and they shifted to a very huge e-commerce retailer. And to be honest, they are not even an e-commerce retailer anymore, because they shifted to become a mobile retailer, and this is also not true because they shifted to become a native app retailer now. And to be even more honest, we discovered that it's not even a good thing to be a retailer anymore. So they're going to be shifted to become more like a service provider selling access to customers, to be honest. And the smart flashlight guy said then, but what do we do if it's not enough, if it's not working, if we're not fast enough in transforming the core assets? And so we said, let's make something new. Let's start to try with a greenfield approach to develop new business models. And maybe you have heard of About You. And About You is our company who is our kind of a unicorn trying to fulfill all, or to fulfill and to meet all the requirements you need in this new digital ecosystem world. And it's very successful, which is good for us, but normally not happen, because good companies or corporate companies normally put base of money into these new ideas and they suck. Normally you don't going to earn anything of it. So we are very proud that they are the fastest growing fashion retailer, at least in Europe, maybe on the planet. But anyhow, so the next thing was like the flashlight guys are saying, could be not enough, because could be the case that they're not earning money in it. And so we said, okay, so let's try to make money out of all the data we have, because as a retailer we have quite a lot of data and have all these kind of interactions with all of our customers, and so we try to develop new services based on all this transactional data. And one thing is, for example, Risk Ident, very good company trying to improve the quality of fraud protection, because in the mobile world it's very easy to commit fraud, because all of you can go to a supermarket, buy 10 SIM cards, put it into an old phone, order some laptops to a fake address, and we don't get the money. And we don't like it. And so we tried to figure out what are the like kind of fingerprinting technologies to ensure that you are a trustworthy customer. And so we did it. And the flashlight guys are always telling, it's not enough. It's not enough, just transform core, just building new stuff and try to lever your data. But maybe we could also try to generate more data, more money by kind of implementing an ecosystem of venture activities. And normally the whole venture stuff is rather dump money stuff, because I'm going to give you 50 million and say after 10 years I want 60 back. And we try to be a bit smarter by saying not even just give us a 60 million back, but also like trying to reduce the pressure on innovation on our core assets, because they have to really focus on transforming the core and not on implementing new trends, new lifestyle stuff put on us from all of you, the customers. For example, just think about like live shopping stuff or the group owning stuff and all this kind of stuff, and the customer are demanding, for example, Otto, you have to now implement in your core systems some group honing efforts, and we said, but we want to transform the core, and so that's not so good. So we really invest in, for example, daily deal, and offer through daily deal to our customers these kind of services, and by this also gaining money. And so all of us thought we are on a good track, transforming the core, building greenfield initiatives, or building companies on a greenfield, trying to sell the data we already own and try to make even more data and reduce the pressure on innovation by using this infrastructure of a venture ecosystem. But guess what? It's simply not enough. And let me tell you why. And in 2015, it was the first time in history of the Otto Group that we made a big loss, really big loss, 200 million euros. But we did all the 4 pillars. And all the flashlight guys said, hey, we did everything. So what's wrong here? And at these times, I was working in the corporate strategy department, and the board members asked me, Toby, please run analysis and check why have we lost so much money, and what can we do to prevent for not losing that much money again. And this is what we came up with was like we have to rethink the whole concept of digitalization, because what we did so far was like just doing more of what we have done the whole time. We just set more people in front of the door. You know, we hired more strategic guys with more flashlights and trying to be more accurate in predicting what is coming out of a dark room. And this is not an issue. You know, the issue is that in the end we have to ask ourselves other questions. The question is not what is the thing which flies out of the room, but the question is how can we prepare to be responsive enough to handle everything which is happening in this room. And then you're going to ask different questions. You're going to ask yourself, who is the one who has the power to make any kind of decisions? What kind of structure do we need? And also you're going to ask what to do, you know? And all these questions normally you answer by smart guys, the flashlight guys, or the boss, or the CEO, etc., etc. And we think it's not enough anymore. And this is what we came up with was like our kind of framework. So we said, so far we did everything we did was on this layer model on the first 3 layers. We said on the strategic level, how should our assets look like? We said then, what kind of processes do you need to fulfill this kind of USP? And we said then, what kind of normally IT infrastructure do you need to fulfill this kind of processes, and so on and so on. To make it more precise, it's very easy on a piece of paper to say, I don't know, to turn Haute into a brand. And Haute was like a traditional retailer, and then saying they have to become a brand is very easy on a piece of paper. But to really design the new processes and also to implement this new technology, it's really hard work. But it's simply not enough. Because just think about of any kind of digital company which comes in the top of your mind, I don't know, for example, Facebook, Google, About You. Yeah, for sure. And then this is a question I put to the board really back in Hamburg in 2015. I said, just think about it. Because Facebook might have a very good strategy. They have very good processes and they have like a very phenomenal IT infrastructure. But does anyone in this room believe that they have been that successful if we would have led Facebook like we leading at the moment Otto, or if they would have been that successful if we would had Facebook led like, I don't know, Otto in the 1950s? And everybody's saying, no, we don't think so. And so what we missed in our transformation so far until 2015 was the area of employees and organization. And this is what the whole Kulturwandel piece is about. We truly believe that the only chance to face and to overcome all the challenges which are put to us as a company by the digitalization, which most of them we don't even know, because to be honest, digitalization is just starting, you know? It's not like we are halfway through, it's just the beginning of a new era. It's nothing like we can not even think that the first percent is already done. And so we say, if we want to survive, and the whole Kulturwandel is for us about survival. It's nothing about hugging trees or riding unicorns. For us, to be honest, it's only the whole piece is about how to survive in this new world. And we have to become that fluid and that responsive to face everything and to adapt to everything which is thrown to us. And this is what Kulturwandel is about. And normally, what I just said, you try to do or to create these new qualities, how I would call it, by doing the same shit you did all the time, and it's not working. You're saying top down, you have to behave, I don't know, like a trustworthy person, or everybody has to be respectful, or you name it. And everybody knows the shit, you know. You get this poster and a cup and like a flag and a claim and all this kind of shit. But it's not worth anything because it's not leading you to do anything different. It does not make any difference at all. And so we said from the beginning, the first thing we have to do is like to behave. At day one, we have to behave like we want everybody to behave. And so we came up with our dogmas of the Kulturwandel 4.0, the cultural transformation. And first of all, we said everybody has to be included. And everybody means everybody. It's not like, yeah, but you know, the top management. No, everybody means everybody. People, blue-collar workers, people in the call center organizations, everybody means everybody. And the second thing was, because our company, our groups, we run more than 100 companies, had been very fearful that now Tobias is coming and tell them how they have to be. And we said, no, it's not about like standardizing anything. It's about unleashing the potential of diversity. And so therefore, there's no one-size-fits-all approach. Every company has to find their own way throughout all the questions which are coming up, but there's nothing like a standardized approach or so on and so on. And what we say then is like, it's totally clear that we as Otto Group want to survive. And survival would mean for us that most of our portfolio companies are still relevant, I don't know, in the next 100 years. And therefore, every single company has their own responsibility to do the best to survive. And we're just giving them the frame and the tools to hopefully find their way through this kind of digitalization. And so in the end, it's a decentralized implementation with a shared responsibility. And the next thing, which was from perspective from now, it's like, you know, it's a normal sentence, but in these times, 2015 was really shaking, you know, saying everything, to say it in a different way, it was like, you know best what you need. And people are saying, normally headquarters is coming and tell us what to do. So, and for us, it was really a change of pattern by really not saying, but really giving the freedom to the persons and the people and the teams and saying, you know best what you need to perform best. And nobody is asking if it's a good or bad decision what you choose, but you are the ones who are responsible, who are accountable for this kind of change. And what we did also was some kind of intended rule break, because you always have to shake the system and show how ridiculous some things are. And this is always painful, at least for me. And just to give you a very precise example, in 2015, we also had kind of a kickoff for this Kulturwandel initiative. And the family Otto, invited together with the board 400 persons to Hamburg. And normally the 400 would be all the C-level guys from all of our companies. We have one room fitting 400 people, and we have just exactly 400 executive managing directors and so on and so on. And we said, not such a good idea. So we're going to make it a different way this year. We're going to randomly invite people because everybody is affected by culture. And the email was sent out by Professor Dr. Michael Otto, the owner of the company, and he normally does not write any emails, so it was like also kind of new. And there was one, the last sentence was, if you have any questions, please contact Toby. And this is exactly what happened after 5 seconds after this email was sent. I had like 2 types of callers. The first were like the C-level guys asking me or yelling at me if I'm nuts, not inviting them to this historical moment, knowing that all of us, we had this big loss and he's going to tell something news. And I always said, okay, you're not invited, but you can watch the broadcast. And this actually was not that satisfactory to these guys. And the second thing was like, and I remember this because this guy was so kind of sweet. He called me, and we have this company called Hanse Control, and they are like the company trying to like a TÜV, trying to ensure that we meet all the regulations we need to meet when importing stuff from Far East. And he was the guy, he called me and said, hello, I'm the guy who's testing toys. And I always have this picture in mind that someone is trying to burn this teddy bear and trying, if you know, I don't even know if it's true, but he said, yeah, there must be a mistake. I've been invited to this venue, but I think you meant my boss. And he said, no, we want you. Really? But you know, I'm not into culture, and you know, this is. I'm still not. Till now, I'm not even sure what's worse. You know, yelling C-level guys or people not feeling responsible for the culture. You know, and this is what we say frame as intended rule break. We then figured out that mainly, that at least in our organization, it is the case that every team really knows what they need, but they are not able to express it, or they fear to express it because they always have been told you're not allowed to tell anything, you know. And so we said, first of all, we have to make things visible. And we came up with lots of tools and workshops and so on, and we are now very, very ripe and very, very good in let teams express what they need on the cultural level to perform better. And the interesting thing for me was, as I'm a strategic guy by heart, that if you give people room to grow and give them the freedom to like try things out, they don't even become more productive, and by this increasing the performance of the company, they simply are happier. They feel better. You for me. And to be honest, it's like, anyhow. And the next thing we try to do is, if people are expressing their thoughts or their feelings, is to not trying to optimize anything, because our core belief is that when you look at a process, normally everything is quite optimized. And if you try to optimize something in the middle of this process, normally the steps who are before and after are getting worse. So it's like, normally it's not working so good. And so we say we have to not try to optimize anything, which I would call work within the system, but rather to skip the whole thing to the next level and try to develop the new systems who work at the system. And this is very, very, very interesting, because by this we are giving so much power to the people, because just think about a normal team. And I don't know, the intern is going to tell something which everybody knows, but nobody is brave enough to speak out. And then everybody says, this is true. And now let's change the system. And quite often you can change quite a lot with just within 24 hours. It's so easy, because in the end, everything you do, and you always have a choice, especially as a leader, how you treat people, how you lead, and how you, I don't know, want to work with your neighboring department or whatsoever. It's every time your own choice. There's nothing such like a corporate culture and you're kind of a victim of this culture. You are the culture. So everything you're complaining about is everything you do every day. Stop complaining, start changing. It's your choice. And it's totally true that if you are the CEO of a group, the influence you have is a different one when being, I don't know, a normal worker. But it's okay. Just start with what you can change. And this is so amazing, because by seeing that in giving the power to the people and changing the system and creating by this new realities, it's always like for creating new realities. Next day it's different, it feels different. And this is like the biggest, I would call it like the biggest success of our whole process, that we are creating all the time new realities. And these new realities are not negotiable at all anymore. So for example, in the Otto Group, when I started, everybody was telling Sie, like calling each other by the second name, and by the last name. And it was like the normal social rule, I would call it. It was simply normal. Nobody questioned it. And what happened then was that during a board meeting, the boards asked themselves, we are always talking about becoming a team, but how do we act as a team? And everybody could see we are not a team because we don't call each other like teams do. Nobody in a high-performing team would call, hey, Mr. Krüger, are you doing great? You don't do it, you know? And so they say to themselves, we are not a team. And so we cannot tell all the time, we want to be a big team here. And so they said, we want to overcome the silo stuff. We heard something about the silos in the morning. And they said, if we want to overcome the silo, the first signal to the organization would be the language we use. And so we are now calling us by our first names. And they had been smart enough by saying, we have to offer this framework of communication to the whole organization, because otherwise everybody would think they had a good workshop and are calling on the first name, but nobody, And so they changed, and so they say, no, we offer you to tell you, to call us by the first name. And it changed so much, not because we are now telling Toby or Alex or whatsoever, it's not an issue. But just give you a very short example. During my time as a strategic consultant, I had, I don't know, I run 3 or 4 projects in parallel, and I had to send all the time like these kind of emails everybody knows. Dear board member, please find attached, process to project la la la. Please do me a favor, check options on slide 48. And then he sent me back, dear Tobias Krüger, thank you very much. Please see on slide 12, there's kind of a comma mistake. You have to adopt something. I checked the options. Please do not follow any more option C, which is very good because I just developed option C that he's going to cross it out. This is what I did because I wanted then that A and B is the one we talk through. And my consultants had been prepared all the stuff, so it was a very good thing. And then I said, because I did not know the comma thing, so I had to do something, but the other things is already finished. But as my board member should think I'm working, I would not send him directly and respond, but wait a day. And then the next day I'm going to send him, dear board member, please find the new proposal and say if it's okay. And then he says, yeah, it's okay, please give it to all the other ones. And this is so shitty. And it's so normal, this is happening all the time in normal organizations. And today, what we do is like when I have board member meetings now, I just send all of them one email saying, hey, Alex. Normally I say, hey, Petra, because she's the lady, and then, hi, guys. Hi, Petra. Hi, guys. We meet tomorrow. Let's talk about this one, the 3 points. Bullet 1, 2, 3. That's it. No PowerPoint, no Excel sheets, nothing. This is the change. Don't care about the do. It's not the do. It's the whole communication system. We change the whole system, how we talk to each other. It's more direct, it's more open. We talk about the questions we have and not about like shitty stuff on options and so on and so on. And why are we doing this whole stuff? And I truly believe that for us, we have to unleash the beast. And unleashing the beast means for us 3 different levels. First of all, in your own person, you really have to know what you need to really unleash your own potential. What do you need to perform best? And I'm always talking perform and not talking feeling best. And then the next thing would be, what do I need from my team to perform best? And what does the team need from me to perform best? And the next level would be, what do you need between the teams? And then what do you need between the companies? And this is what's happening in our organization at the moment. So we try to set ambitious levels on the layer of behavior and on values. And normally this is not happening. People are always trying to find the least common denominator for defining and saying, we have to treat us respectful or have to trust each other, but nobody's going to define what does it mean if I trust you. How do you feel that I trust you? And it might be very different in terms of what you think is trustful for you, in terms of you and you and you and you. And this is time consuming, to be honest. And it's kind of annoying for the bosses because now they have to talk to the people, and really have to stay in contact. It's the next thing, because if I'm going to tell you what do you need to trust me, and you say the best thing if you can show your trust to me was be, I don't know, give you a budget or whatsoever, and I would give you the budget, I have to come back to you and say, is it enough? What do you need now to grow the trust? What do you need now to grow in your own personality? And this is what we try to do. And so far, we are kind of successful in terms of what people are telling us we are successful. From my perspective, I think we are still at the beginning. It's such a... let me tell you a different story. So if I don't believe today that if something groundbreaking would come out of this dark room, that we are able to respond. But this is my vision, so we have to keep on working. Thank you.
I said I was excited for this talk, and you did not disappoint.
Ah, thank you.
We have a few questions from the audience. So the first one is from Jody, who says, what about people who just want to do their job and don't want more power and autonomy?
This is totally, this is something which I really, really like to emphasize. It's not like that everybody who's entering the company now has to say, yeah, Kulturwandel, yeah. I don't care, to be honest. And I totally accept if people are coming tomorrow, I don't know, in the morning to the company, 8 o'clock and leaving at, I don't know, 3. But the question is, what are they doing and how do they behave in the meantime? What are they doing? And if it's still acceptable, then they are sitting in their own silo, doing their own shit and not talking to anyone. And this is something which we do not accept anymore. This does not mean that anybody or everybody has to really be on fire about this whole thing. But they have at least to start to cooperate, to collaborate and to be at least a bit open-minded, you know.
Yeah.
But it's, to be honest, it's the job of the bosses to create the surrounding.
Okay, we've got a question from John. How do you keep chaos away and keep people aligned when you give them so much autonomy?
I would say, in the end, we hope to hire smart people.
Okay. Do you think that's sufficient?
Yeah, to be honest, if my view on people would be that they don't know what the company need in this moment, then I have this issue of chaos and so on, and I need to make all this. But if I say I'm only going to hire the smart guys, and if you have a room of...
And women.
Yeah, for sure, sorry. And you have all this, the smart teams, and have all the smart teams, then normally they are smart enough to figure out what is shit. To be honest, because they are smart and they say, you know, this is a good idea, but to be honest, it's not a good idea. And so it's kind of self-regulating stuff, so we don't put on so much stuff on controlling this thing by believing that the people know what they need, you know?
We have a question from Max. What are your metrics to measure the success of Kulturwandel?
I could talk now 8 hours.
Okay.
This was 2 minutes. Yeah, I even tried to make it shorter. This was one of the first questions when we launched this kind of initiative. The board asked immediately, what is the ROI stuff, blah, 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 blah. And let me shorten it to a very, 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 very tiny phrase. True case, board meeting, and I asked my CEO, Alexander, do you love your wife? And he says, yeah, for sure, I love my wife. Why? I said, yeah, just go on. And then I said, it's good because I do also love my wife. He said, oh, good for you. I said, yeah, it's good for me. And then I said, I think we should measure now who loves his wife more. And he says, what? I said, yeah, but to be honest, let's just do this thing. He said, yeah, okay, let's do this thing. I said, okay, and now we measured it, and now it comes out that you, Alexander, love your wife a bit more than I do. What does it mean for me? I first of all have to develop any kind of initiatives, projects, whatsoever. I have to peel every day in the morning the egg of my wife, you know, and bring her roses, whatsoever. And then I said, you see how ridiculous this stuff is. But Kulturwandel is all about the quality of relationships. And you are asking me all the time the shit about measure stuff. People are feeling how if things are evolving or not, you know. And then I said, just my last sentence to him in this, and it could be even the case that I am happier than you are. Because it does not even mean anything if it would be objectively measured that you are loving your wife 1% more than I do. So I don't give a shit on this measure stuff. But this is a very short story, so it was a longer one.
Max will never again ask this question of anyone.
And just to make it clear, we measure quite a lot of stuff, but on a different level. We measure things like how active are companies, how active are people, if they are involved, are they engaged, and so on and so on. And I'm a strategic guy by heart, so I know all the stuff with KPIs and then heat maps and so on. This is simply bullshit on this topic.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So on this topic, well, our final question, which is from Fabian.
Yeah.
How do you define culture?
For me, culture is everything you experience on your own and what people tell you. And the tell you piece is the more interesting one, because if you would come up to me and saying, you know, Stefan, he's such an asshole.
I would never say that.
I would say, I know, but he's so mean and he's so political. I mean, this happens all the time in companies, you know. It would really put me, really frame me and prime me in terms of culture. If you would say, he's such a nice guy, he's very easy talking, blah, 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 blah. It would be the same. So all of you, this is what I just meant, all of you have the choice every day to make something different. It's your own responsibility, and you all shape the culture.
We're all leaders here. Awesome. Thank you so much, Toby. That was absolutely phenomenal. Huge round of applause for Toby. Thank you. It was wonderful.